We knew they were really good. I don't think there's any question about that. And if they were a football team, they would be one of those teams that are so balanced with their inside scoring, their outside scoring, and there's really not one place that you can say, well, we can give this up in the game. And we knew that we really wanted to get into the post and make it hard, and then they did a very good job of making that pass after the pass out to get some open jumpers. And I start with that because this was a game of adjustments, and that's what it was the entire game. And the one thing that never needed to be adjusted was our energy, our attitude towards winning, or our spirit. They were high level the entire way, and I don't know what Tom said, but from what I could see from them, looked like theirs was the same way. And I think that's why after the game of the CBS interview, Greg Anthony said this had the feel and the execution of a Final Four game. And well, I hope he's right, because I think they're really, really good. And for us to get this win in this environment, to make the plays that we made, especially at the end of the game, to make the defensive stops that we made, to get the buckets that we needed to get, I thought that was huge. I think the statistics that are a big part of this game, the rebounds are relatively even. But I think the fact that we kept them off the foul line was huge, because they're an excellent foul shooting team, especially Gary and Harris and Keith Appling, and Adrian Payne is getting better all the time. And we never really let them get a great break. We did give up some transition buckets, and some was our lack of alertness and awareness. And they taught us something there, so we've got to get better in a hurry with that. But it was a physical game, it was a hard-nosed game, it was a high-level game, and they're a great team, and that's why it's a great win for us.
Chris?
Hey, Coach, just to expand on how beneficial is this for a young team? I mean, 30-point wins are nice, but a game like this, where they had their runs and went the entire 40 minutes, how beneficial, big picture, is that?
Well, we're not a team that's going to get a lot of those type of wins, and we're not in a league where you're going to get a lot of those type of big wins. So you've got to be in some fights, and we'll get better from this. I'm certain Michigan State will get better from this. I mean, if you're going to win over the long haul, you've got to find ways. And our guys had great will. I thought Christian Watford was excellent in the second half, because they were picking on him in the first half, and he responded. He responded in a big way, and played through a lot of things. I thought the charge that Cody drew, and then the play that we ran where he got the layup off the high pick and roll is something that been sneaking into our 5-on-0 work, and I knew I was going to use it, call it at some point, and he went out there and he executed it. That's a high level player that can do something like that. I mean, he was 30 feet away from the bucket and drove that thing in there for a layup with his left hand. So those are the things that make a difference. Victor Oladipo did something in the first half that I'd never been a part of coaching. He had 15 deflections in a half. He ended up with 22 in the game, 6 steals. But Victor's a great example. We watch a lot of film as a team, but he always watches that much more. And he's getting a knowledge base to go with those instincts and his talent and his athleticism. And the more he does that, the better he's going to be. And our guys like that learn that your instincts can't get better without that knowledge. They can get to a point, but the more you add that knowledge, if I can do this and I can do that, and when he comes this way, I can go there. I mean, that's part of the game, and that's part of them taking the next step. And this game was like that. For us to make adjustments, for us to have to make the adjustments we had to make, and find a way to win it, we're big.
Bob?
Tom, can you trace Victor's development from the time he walked onto campus to now, some of the things he can do now that he couldn't, and what he's done to get himself to this level?
Well, he came with the athleticism, he came with the work ethic. I think the fact that he started more games after 2 years here than he did in high school says a lot about him. But I think also the fact that he has a higher GPA than he even did in high school, and he was over a 3-point in high school, says a lot about him. I think he is a great example of the old boring statement of daily improvement. I mean, I have not seen him not have a day where he wasn't doing something extra in the day, whether it's after practice, whether it's in the summertime or the springtime and being in the gym extra. I think the film thing is something that's really, really helped him, where he'll watch that extra film. He'll have edits made for him so that he can watch the different matchups. I think what he's done with the biggest difference is he was always a very charismatic, personality-driven young man. Didn't really want to hurt anybody's feelings. He's not real worried about that anymore as a leader. that he's grown, and I say that with dead seriousness. I mean, you can't be a leader without being demanding and hurting some people's feelings once in a while, and being able to call them out, and he's getting there. He's getting there. I think his road to leadership, he's got a great voice with this team. But I think if you look at his numbers, we did this the other day, if you look at his numbers from 6 games into the Big Ten, last year into 6 games this year, it was astronomically different. And I'm sure we'll see the same thing when we look at the stats from last year to this year after 7 games. He just keeps getting better.
Jason. You touched on it earlier, Coach, with Cody, but talk about the trust that your team has to give him the ball 30 feet out and to not worry when it's cut to 1 or 2 points there with the men in the half.
Well, they know he can play. He can do a lot of different things. I mean, he's not just an inside player. I mean, he is a guy that, and again, there's so many areas where he's just scratching the surface. And he's got to talk more, especially in the back line. They got a couple of lobs in the first half where he wasn't as aware of his teammates as he needed to be. He's got to take certain things away in the game, but it was winning time, and Cody answered the bell. He rang the bell, to get that charge and then to get that drive and to make that play, in the heat of that game, that's where his mental toughness is. And that's never, ever. He came with that. I'm sure he was born into it, and being in the family that he's been in, that's a part of it. Gene Miller did an unbelievable job of making him a better player. That mental toughness is never not there. And he's so non-statistic driven. That's why he's such a winner, because he just does what it takes. And I had no hesitation with that call. We didn't call it out of a timeout. I had it in the bag, and looked good because he ran it to perfection. But all the other guys were all in movement as well. But he continues to improve. They're not always as apparent, but he's getting better and better.
You talked about keeping them off the free throw line. Is that why you stuck with the zone, even though they were shooting the 3 and knocking down at a high percentage?
Yeah, we played a little percentage. We played a little risk reward there. But there were certain things that we wanted to zone that they ran, keep the game off balance. And they did hit some shots, but the shots that they hit were more in our poor rotations. And we had to change the post double. And that's what I'm talking about, the adjustments. We changed the post double 3 times in the game. And that's a sign of a really good team. They kept answering it well. We just kept coming back with something different. Unfortunately, at the end, it happened. But when Gary Harris was making his 3s, it was in rotation and as much as anything else. I think there was a transition one in there. I don't totally remember. But we couldn't do that anymore. So we had to do a better job. That's why they're so good. They don't put a player out there that can't make a play for themselves or make a play for somebody else. And they're a hard team to deal with. And because there's really, we have some combination defenses where we'll guard somebody without guarding them. We couldn't do that in this game. And then with Dawson, if you're not on his body, he's going to get a board, he's going to get a dunk. And he's just a relentless offensive rebounder. But their X factor right now is the improvement of Payne. And if he keeps improving like that, they're going to be hard to beat for anybody.
I guess on that one, how much did it kind of change and force you to adjust when Adrian Payne hits 2 3s or hits 3
No, we
threes?
knew he was making 3s. That wasn't, especially at the time of the game, that wasn't as big a deal as that we were just a little bit unaware of where he was moving from. And they did a good job. We have certain coverages that we want to have in the pick and roll on the side and high. And in a game like this, you just can't be too stubborn if something's not working. You've got to have enough things in your bag you can go to. Well, you got to have smart players that can make those adjustments. So that the early 3s weren't as big a factor. How Gary Harris was getting the 3s was a big factor because those were our mistakes. And he got hot, and he's a very good shooter. 50% of his points in league player coming from the 3-point line. So, but once we made a couple of adjustments, and we changed how we were guarding the post, that cooled off a little bit.
Jeff?
Just in your eyes, how good was Oladipo? Points, rebounds, assists, defense, and steals, everything.
You're like Bob Huggins, man. You're always whispering. I can't even hear you. Say it again. Say it again. I'm just playing. I'm just playing. Who covers Huggins? He's always like that. He's on the bench. He's wild, and then he's in monologue. How big a difference was Oladipo?
Yeah.
Tremendous difference from the very start of the game. I'm just joking. From the start of the game, he had a knowledge base that he put into his game of how he was going to defend. We asked him to do a lot of different things defensively and guard a lot of different people. And if you're not smart and cerebral like that, and at the same time athletic and quick, with the hands, it's not going to matter. But he's been very good. I mean, he's been very good. Friday was maybe as good a practice as he's had here, and he hasn't had very many bad ones in 2+ years. And so we knew he was going to play well on the offensive end. And then to take it up the way he did defensively is just a great sign. And same thing with Sheehy. I mean, we don't win the game without Sheehy. We really don't. It wasn't, he made some shots, which was very good, but it was more what he did defensively and the havoc that he creates. So those guys were really good in there.
Rick, when you start building the game plan, do you start with who Victor's going to guard, and when you decide who you're going to, he's guards point guards, 2 guards, wings, power forwards, how do you decide who you're going to put him on?
We start really with who our guards are going to guard in the sense of Jordan, probably. Where we can get the most impact with Yogi, with Jordan. We know that Victor and Will are going to move around a lot defensively, so it's not always starting the game on their highest scoring player. I mean, there's no set rule for that. I think what we're looking for is, okay, what can we do when we switch defenses? What can we do that can bother them? Are there certain plays that we want to play differently in the course of the game? How are we going to play the out-of-bounds plays? And we spend a lot of time on the personnel so that whoever's guarding them understands what we're really trying to maybe get from that player. But with Vic and Will, we don't worry about it as much because they can guard so many people and they can switch so many things.
You mentioned knowledge base with Vic, and I don't know if you can answer this because you're obviously going to play these guys again, but you're obviously able to turn them over a lot more than they have been. I guess, did Vic find something or see something that showed?
Well, I just think he was into the ball. I think he was into the ball. I think when we were up into the ball, we were good. When we were up into the passing lanes, when we still have some help issues, some help and recover issues, and we've got to keep getting those better. And again, we have so much respect for their inside game that we didn't want to let them just play one-on-one down there. So those are probably the biggest things we're going to have to look at now and figure out those adjustments. Because seriously, when we go to Purdue, they're going to have an inside-outside attack, and Michigan does. Because it's not necessarily just the post-ups with Michigan, it's the way they utilize the paint and the paint scores that they get. So Vic was just really locked in to their personnel, as really all our guys were. And again, when they made their buckets, it was because we made mistakes. We lost them in rotation. They earned some buckets, but we can't be. We're not a team that can be in rotation, like we were in those post doubles, and they got us a couple times with that.
Pete?
Yeah, Tom, you've gotten a lot from Yogi defensively all year, assists all year, but it seems like you're getting more from a scoring standpoint. What is his ceiling? What can he do?
Oh, ceiling, there's no ceiling for him. He's a winner. He's a winner. Like I said after the game, I said, if anybody asks you for your birth certificate, they're not going to believe it. I mean, I'm serious. He's like a veteran. He doesn't get enough credit for that. I mean, he doesn't. I mean, the impact he has had on our team defensively is amazing. And Ed Schilling is a great coach, and he's been coached really well, which we knew was going to be a huge bonus in getting Yogi. But he played 99% of the time in zone. And so for him to have to come out and guard guys like Keith Apley and all these kind of people that he's guarding and do the job that he's doing says a lot about him. He's got strength, he's got quickness, he's got vision, his shot is getting better, he works extremely hard on it. He's always with Victor working on his shot after practice, getting extra shots, which is a huge thing. And I don't think there is a ceiling to his game because he's improving with both hands. The thing that he's got that's so rare for anybody, but yet alone his age, and I've said this before, is he just got that short memory. He doesn't let mistakes carry into the next one, and he doesn't let successes slow him down. That's what I love about him. And Jordan after that whirling dervish 360 pass that just baffles my mind that he would make it, came back and played as solid of a floor game with shooting the ball, with delivering the ball, and with defending. That's when I knew today, like, okay, we got a real chance here because he responded real quick. And we've had some games where Jordan hasn't always done that. Well, I think that's part of being on the court with guys like Yogi. I don't think there's a real age gap with our guys, because there's not a respect gap. Yeah, they respect each other's games and they can help each other on the court. And I think that helps us. So another answer, I don't think Yogi's even close to leveling off, his leadership, or any of those type of things for us.
Okay, last question.
You mentioned, in the context of this game, you wouldn't have won without Wilshere. He's contribution with Yogi. Do you win if he doesn't win the point guard matchup with Appling the way he did?
Well, how you view the point guard matchup may be entirely different than how I view it. So, I mean, I don't know how to answer that question as much as that we don't ever look at, we don't coach, we might set some matchups, but we don't have a statistic that says, okay, our point guard had 8 more points and 4 less turnovers. That's just part of the game. It's more situation basketball, you know, the team aspect of it. So I don't have an answer for that question because I wouldn't evaluate it that way. All right, thanks.
Thanks.